الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فلولا نفر من كل فرقة طائفة منهم ليتفقهوا في الدين ولينذروا قومهم إذا رجعوا إليهم لعلهم يحذرون. So my dear brothers and sisters, inshallah I'm going to teach today the history of Indian scholarship. And it is very important actually for all of you to learn this history for many reasons. One is you can see in this country, actually anywhere in Europe and America and West, you can find there are so many madrasas, Islamic schools or Islamic colleges. And most of them, the curriculum that they teach, actually the Indian curriculum. So you need to know really what people learn in the madrasas. When you send your daughters, your sons to these madrasas, what they learn there. So this is one important that people need to understand. Similarly, another thing is that many muftis in the world, they basically are from Indian origin. So you need to know their background, how they think. And similarly, many movements in the Muslim world, they are originally from India, like Tablighi-Jama'at, Jamaat Islami. So, and actually even those which are not from India, they are influenced like Ikhwan Muslimun, Muslim Brotherhood. They have been influenced by Maula Maududi, many of these people. So you need to learn, the history, how the influence came. And similarly, if you are interested in the fiqh and hadith, you can find it in the later centuries, the most scholarship actually about these things was in India. So even people from Syria, from Iraq, from Kurdistan, from Saudi Arabia, all these countries, they Central Asia, they used to travel to India and learn there. I went in '93 to Samarkand, Bukhara, and I saw there people's, private libraries. Most books that they used to have, they are originally printed in India. They said their ancestors went to India, they studied there, they brought the books from there. Even in China, people used to go to India and learn there and come from there. One of the great teacher of hadith and fiqh in Syria was Shaykh Khalid al-Kurdi, Muhammad Khalid al-Kurdi, rahimahullah ta'ala. And he's originally from Kurdistan, settled in Syria and died there. But he went to India, studied there and every single thing, and then he became big teacher in Syria. And most people actually, later on, learned people, they relate themselves to there. And even actually up to Bulgaria and in Europe, there's so, because this is a work which actually, in Oxford, the work I did, I spent my life really more than 20 years. It is this work in the history of Indian scholarship. So I know exactly really how much influence was there, what are the isnad and chairs of narrations of Indian people. So, and then you'll be really impressed that how much India has made contribution in the history of Islamic scholarship. Books written by Indian people and, they're traveling. Not only that actually, and they used, many of them, they left India and they settled in Makkah and Medina. So their students basically are everywhere. So you can even actually somebody, long time ago, nearly 10 years, one of the scholars of Bosnia, he emailed me, he is looking for an Indian teacher. He said, many of teachers in Bosnia, they study with this man. So how they study this with this Indian man? And when I searched, because that Indian man, he came to Makkah and settled there. So now people from Bosnia, they come and they study with this man. So this actually how they have, influence have been all over the world. So inshallah, some of those things will come. And, it is actually good that you're learning from me. Not because I'm the most learned person, but this is actually something on which I spent my life, more than 20 years just studying this. And this is one reason. Second reason is actually I have been part of that system for a long time. So when I started my study in the madrasa, near my village, that madrasa used to have a hostel and all that, but it was very much part of the NHS system. You don't find any modernism there. Nothing there new. So I know really exactly how the teaching used to happen in the past. So when I studied the sources, I could see very clearly this actually how was my madrasa. So I easily could relate. Now the madrasas in India, they're more advanced. But when I studied, they used to be actually same pattern, like a Mughal period. Exactly same madrasas, same way of the building and same teachers, same curriculum and all the things same. So I can relate myself to, to that education system very much. So that inshallah, you learn directly from me. And also one of the thing is, there is actually an effort, in India to reform the madrasas, and even in this country. Actually, there have been writings by Orientalists, by many modern Muslims, and even by pure madrasas to reform the madrasas. When I read their writing and their criticism of madrasas, most time I feel really they don't understand madrasa system. They don't know exactly what it is and what the purpose. If you don't know, a system, how can you reform it? If you don't know really what madrasa is, so how can you reform it? So this is one of the problems of many writers. Even actually, the people of the madrasa, many of them, they have forgotten really what was the purpose of madrasa. Because what is happening is they compare the madrasa with the modern Western system of education. So they find really huge gap, big distance between both of them. So they want to reform the madrasa so they can make the madrasa actually become exactly same as the Western education system that they want, without realizing really what a madrasa's purpose is. So this very important to learn all this. Inshallah, so throughout the day you will learn most of these things. Though I'll focus more on the later madrasa because one day is not enough for all these things. So I'll give you a background of Indian history, pre-Mughal history, Indian history of madrasa, and then during Mughal period. Then I'll come back to the later madrasas, which became more famous in the world, and everybody knows them. So one of the madrasa Farangi Mahal, people like Maulana Abdul Hayy Farangi Mahal and all these people. And the second one is the madrasa Himiya, where actually Shah Waliullah Dehlvi was there. And then in India, we used to have the madrasa Khairabad, where people used to specialize in rational sciences. If you want to study philosophy and sciences of those times, you have to come to Khairabad. So they have these three major centers, Farangi Mahal in Lucknow, Khairabad, a town near Lucknow, and then Madrasa Rahimiyya in Delhi, where actually more focus was on hadith and other Islamic sciences. These three madrasas, they became very important in Mughal period. Then after that, when Mughal Empire finished and British took over India, then we have a new madrasas. The old madrasas basically finished. New madrasas came. So among the new madrasas, the most important was Deoband and its branches. And then University of Aligarh was established. Now, it was not university; it became university later on. But anyway, it was established. So we have two extremes basically. One is Deoband, which wants to keep and preserve the ancient knowledge, and then there is the Aligarh, which wants to reform everything and make as modern as possible. Then people established another one, another ulama where I'm coming from, and they wanted to make something in between the ancient method of teaching and curriculum and the new way. So something basically combined between both of them. So the Nadwa came, and then many madrasas started, like Nadwa ulama, like the madrasa Maulana Farahi. You have heard his name from me so many times. Madrasul Islah. So all these madrasas, and you can see you have here name of Deoband so much, and it has got Dars Nizami, but people don't know where Dars Nizami comes. Dars Nizami basically comes from Farangi Mahal. So you will know the history of Farangi Mahal. All inshallah, these things are what actually I'm planning to teach you. Their curriculum as well, how the teaching used to happen, and what was the language of the teaching. So this inshallah will come. And because I mentioned to you, I have been part of the madrasa system from very beginning, so I'm aware really how teaching used to happen, and I know really that it was exactly extension of the same teaching as in the past. So I'll share many of those information for you before starting this history. But one thing I like you to understand exactly really what was the madrasa education. Because then I emphasize to you that people who want to reform madrasa, they don't know what madrasa is. They don't know what the purpose is. So how can you reform it? So first make effort to understand what madrasa was. What is the education of the madrasa? So if you want to understand that, we have to go basically the truth is that education system in the past, it all used to be same. Not only Islamic, non-Islamic, anywhere, education system. Actually, when this revolution happened in Europe, industrial revolution happened, then education system of the world starts changing very rapidly, especially in Europe and then everywhere else. Before that, education system in the whole world used to be very, very similar. That's why people easily could fit anywhere. That's why they used to borrow the books. For example, Europe have been influenced so much by Islamic way of learning. Because it was same, very, very similar. So what was the education system, in Europe and in the world in general before Industrial Revolution? What was actually, what was the focus? That you need to understand. Because the thing is, when people, when you go to the university or college now, you think this how has been all the time. So this is, like for example, very often, I've been working on feminism and all those things. So when you read the writings of European people, the way they write, as this freedom of women always have been in Europe. They don't realize really that many countries of Europe, they only allowed women to participate in voting system very late, 1960s, 50s, all very late. Women were only allowed to study in Oxford, in 20th century. Before that, they were not allowed to study in the University of Oxford. So what you see around, it is not actually, it has been all the time. It came very, very late, but people don't understand because people don't study. So this is, I think, what was the education system in Europe and everywhere in the world before Industrial Revolution. If you understand that one, it will help you to understand Islamic education system. Because it's basically exactly the same thing. The education in the past used to serve two purposes. They used to have basically, when they used to have any center of learning, teaching, whether private, one teacher is teaching, or whether in a center of learning, a school or madrasa, they used to serve two purposes. And both purposes basically were related. The whole idea was that people are born, now they are going to live in this world. So they need to be wise. Simple matter. So basically, education system was, the end was to make people wise. That simple matter really is. The focus was to make people wise, so they can live in this world properly. How to achieve this wisdom? They used to have two things that I mentioned, two purposes. The educational system used to attain two purposes in order to make people wise. That all the time has been. And because I studied, I know exactly really that the main focus was to make people wise. In our time, you don't see this. Wisdom is not a purpose. So you can see somebody, studying Oxford and a PhD and all, writing many books, but he failed to live with his wife. They commit suicide. They don't know how to live. They never learned wisdom. This wisdom is not there. So what used to be in the past? So the end result was to make you wise. So that keep in mind really, that in all the education basically was to make you wise. Everywhere in the world, in Europe, in China, in India, even not non-Islamic, Hindu education, anywhere you go in Islamic education, the end result basically what they wanted to attain is to make people wise. The wise people used to come from the education centers, and they used to help the society. They used to attain this wisdom through two means. One thing is madrasa, or can say ancient education system. It used to focus first thing is to teach students more general things, more general skills, which can be helpful for any branch of or any walk of life when they enter. For example, people want to become a medical doctor, if people want to become an engineer, if they want to be a mathematician, if they want to Islamic education, anything they want. So they used to teach in madrasa and in the educational system of the ancient time. They used to teach one thing, what more general skills. What more general skill is? They will teach you the language. They will teach you reading and writing. You can read and you can write. And when they teach you writing, they will make effort to teach you writing. You can express yourself well. You can speak well. You can know good writing. Not handwriting, meaning is that express yourself, properly, more literary thing. So that one thing that you emphasize on the language aspect, in the grammar and all those things properly. So and this thing you need for everything. The language is good language. You need for every branch of the knowledge. So they used to teach first thing was language. Emphasis will be on the language. That you read, you write, you understand, you speak, you communicate properly in writing, in speaking, everything. That was emphasis, and with grammar and whatever. Then those general sciences, which also are helpful anywhere, for example, later period, they would teach you logic. Because logic will be helpful for many, many sciences. So once you know logic, you know the argument, you know how to move from one point to the other point. The philosophy, they will teach you. Mathematics, because mathematics is needed for every single thing. So they would teach you many of those more general skills. Is it clear? So one part of the curriculum used to be in the past is to teach the students more general skills. So once they learn, then after that, if they want to specialize in any branch of the knowledge, these general skills will help them. If you want to become minor literature, it will help you. You have got foundation. If you want to become, muhaddith, faqih, it will help you because you know the language, you know all these things, you know argument, you know logic, you know philosophy, you know mathematics, you know inheritance law and this and that. So the first part of the curriculum would be what? More general. General skills which can be helpful for the people anywhere. They will not teach you more specialized things. For that, you have to go to more specialized madrasas or teachers. But general education will be this, more general skills. Anywhere, in Europe, in China, in India, in Muslim, education system, madrasas, the first emphasis would be to teach the students more general things. Writing, reading, understanding, thinking, these things. Second thing is to teach people how to become, a good citizen, good man of the society, a good person. How to control your anger, how to be in the company of the people, how to look after your children, how to look after your parents, how to be with them, how to look after your wife, things which are more wisdom. So in Islamic education system, certainly, because Islam is a little different, so it could be, it is actually, organized by religious education. So this second part, which is to make you more virtuous, it basically very often will be based on religious studies. So you read the Quran, you study the Quran, you study hadith of the Prophet, you study some fiqh, but still they will emphasize more general wisdom. So for example, when I was in madrasa, they used to teach those books of Persian language, which is more wisdom, like Gulista of Saadi, Bost of Saadi, Akhlaq-e Muhsani, which has got 40 chapters. Each chapter, one thing of the morality. So like for example, like sabr, patience, shukr, thanking, so many things, how to talk to people, all the wisdom things, the 40 chapters of different wisdoms. And in each chapter, they will explain nicely with poetry and everything. It will be there. Is it clear to everybody? So two things really. The first thing is to teach you more general skills. Second thing was to teach you those sciences which can make you a good human person. To develop your personality, to make you a good person. That was. So both together, they make you wise. The second part was very, very important really. Basically, it is education, tarbiyah, to raise you as proper human being, not like animal. So you know how to behave. These two things have been the parts of education system, and that how the madrasas have been. When industrial revolution happened in Europe, so the first part, which is more general skills, they kept it. They made little change. They kept. But second part, which actually was to make you more virtuous, those good characters, to build yourself, to make you really, to train you as a person. That finished. Now actually what I have taken actually to train specific skills, because they need people in the industries. So they need people who can fit in anywhere in economic system. That emphasis has become. Basically, this part of the education where they want to make you more wise, or you can say more virtuous, that become unimportant. Nobody cares about that. They're not going to teach you how to control your anger, how to be patient, how to be, controlling your desire. This they're not going to, actually they encourage you to fulfill your desire. So those things finish. So they are not focusing to make you a human being, to proper human being as a person. More actually about skills. So how can you make it? Basically, education became more centered around money. Money became the main thing. So that happened only after industrial revolution. Before that, it was not the case. That you can find people used to learn, they were not very rich in the past. They used to be poor people, but they used to be more important people. It is only after industrial revolution in Europe when poverty became a defect. If you are poor, it means you are not important. In the past, if you read the history of the world, you can see really poverty was not a problem. Poverty was not a defect in the people. You could feel the good people respect them even if they don't have money, because they have wisdom, they have knowledge, they have some virtues. They are the people who can control their anger, they can control their desire. The virtues were recognized, acknowledged, appreciated, and money was not the main virtue. Actually, money was not a virtue in those days. What was virtue actually is something else. Is it clear to everybody? But in our time, when you have grown up, to you actually what is important is money. That way I can see your mothers, or especially Indian people, their mothers and parents always want their children to become doctor, because then they can make more money. So some of those things. Reason is because all is money, around money. That was not the case in the past. Is it clear to all of you? Basically, education used to be these two parts. First was to teach you more general skills. Second was to teach you those things which can make your character, which can make you a person, a proper human being, develop your character properly. These two things are then you become a wise man of the society. You can help your society properly. That was actually education system of the madrasa. So the first part, where they used to teach Arabic language, Persian language, whatever language was there, and they would teach people logic, philosophy, mathematics, and all those things. On the other hand, they would teach those things which can make you a good person. So, moral lessons, from the stories, many stories, books will be there, Quran, Hadith, Fiqh, all those things, to proper human being, to worship your Lord, to serve the community, to be good person. That's how the madrasa education has been, until now really. But now people want to change it, but they don't realize really what madrasa education is. Is it clear to everybody? So this education system that I explained to you, this is not only madrasa education. That was the educational system all over the world. Before this revolution that happened in Europe, before that, or everywhere, even actually, if you look in Oxford, and if you look at their history, that's what they used to teach. Same way, Greek logic and philosophy and this and that, most teachings used to be around the same subject, everything, because that's what the main learning was. That's why people used to spend so much time in calligraphy, in a good writing, how to become more literary. Now you don't produce so many poets. Poetry finished. Reason is because it's not important. Poetry does not make money. What makes money, those sciences are more important. In the past, really, people used to spend so much time how to good writing. To when they see something, they want to describe it. To even a tree. If you ask your son or your daughter in the school to describe a tree, it will be very difficult for them to describe. But in the madrasa system, that's what you learn nicely. What tree actually is, what it does, and how So when you read writing, it becomes so interesting. Anything. They will learn actually how to describe properly. So this is one of that I can say poetry basically is this, poetry was very, very important part, because poetry makes you to think, to understand in different way. So this is what a madrasa education, this is actually what you're going to get here. Then certainly, I don't agree with the people who want to reform madrasa in that way, because they just want to basically make madrasa like modern education system. So I don't agree with that. But there are many aspects in madrasa which need to have reform. That should happen all the time. And that's what you learn in this history, that every time they used to reform it. They used to make it more relevant to the society. In madrasa become more relevant to the society. So that effort always has been in madrasa. Only in modern time, where the madrasas people don't have this effort to make it more relevant to the society. So that, inshallah, I'll explain to you at the end of the day when I teach you about modern madrasa of India. This is one thing. Second thing is, what was the language that Indian people used to use, in the madrasa, and learned people when they used to study or when they used to teach or write, what were the languages? So in India, they used to have two languages. One was Persian, Farsi, because Muslims, conquerors who came and ruled India, the language was Persian, Farsi. So people who came from Turkey, Turkish people, Iranian, whoever came, elite people, the language was Persian. So that was the language of the teaching and learning, communication, and even Indian people, when they have to study, though they have their own languages, this is the language they used to study. So all the curriculum, all the books will be in Persian language. Second was Arabic. Arabic was basically language of the more elite people. So especially the ulama, the scholars, the fuqaha, the jurists, they would be more specialized in Arabic language. So when ulama used to write for common people, for general public, they would write in Persian language. But when they write on those subjects which are more concerned for ulama, for scholars, they would write in Arabic language. For example, Waliullah Dehlavi, one example, he has many books in Farsi, in Persian, and many books in Arabic. So you can see really, the books that he wrote in Persian, they belong to more general public. What he wrote in Arabic, it is more for the ulama, for the specialized people, for experts. So they used to have these two languages, until very, very late. To even when I started, it was the same system. So I had to learn Persian language. I cannot be alim unless I learn Farsi. So I spent 2 years, more than 2 years, just learning Persian language, all those curriculum. Then through Persian, I learned Arabic language. So that was the system. These two languages were the main languages in that education system. Now they got rid of Farsi, Persian no more there. So I can see really, they got rid of that, but they did not actually know properly what to bring in the place of that. When you reform, that a problem happened because human knowledge is limited. They exactly don't know what will be the consequences of your reform. And this is actually very important to learn now, because soon I'm going to criticize the people who reform Indian curriculum. So the problem really is, you exactly don't know really what the problem is, and you don't know really when you make a reform, what will be new problems. I'll give an example. I have grown up in Indian village, so there was no modernism, no electricity. Now there's everything, but in the past when I grew up, there's nothing like that. It basically was like, whatever you read about ancient world, my village was like that, same thing. So, everything is in the old style. Mosque was there, madrasa was there, but everything, so when you read any history of society in the past, of a stone age, that was my village. Not exactly exaggeration, but I'm saying that the people were like that. So the problems were not what you have now, modern problems. We used to have the problems which were the problems of the past people. So in the past, the people generally used to have two problems in their life. One is hunger. They become hungry. They don't have enough food to eat. This is one problem. And second problem, people used to have hardship in their life. Things were not very convenient, not easy. So like, in your life, you have got, fridge and this and that. So when you cook one day, you can, use it the same food for a few days. So there's so much easiness in the life. In the life in the past, in the Indian villages, and actually even now, many places, it would be very, very, very hard. So two things used to be basically part of the human life and human society in the past. One is hunger and one is hardship. In a modern time, people understand the problem of the both. They want to replace, they want to change it. When somebody is hungry, it's a problem, no doubt. But what is the cure for that? To eat food. You can ask any child, if somebody is hungry, what he needs to do? Find a food and eat it. This is a problem which anybody can solve. Everybody knows what cure is. When people have a hardship in their life, people say what? People say, okay, have some rest, little change, something like that. And people in the village used to, they are farmers, they work very hard. Then after that, they will come, some sports in the evening and put on nice clothes, and sometimes there's gossiping. Sometimes they go for the market, and sometimes the festivals, sometimes they go to the relatives, nice clothes. So, some entertainments. So, the hardship of the life was easily, basically replaced by something like that. So, they both go together, but not more than that. These two things. In modern time, like you are looking, especially in Europe and America, they change this. Now you have got, people don't want to be hungry. They want to produce so much food, really, you never feel hungry. People eat really when they even not hungry. They did not realize really that what will be the problem. When you remove the hunger from the society and people are no more hungry, what will be the problem? So now they've got the problem of obesity. People are so fat, put on so much weight. Now tell me really, do the people know what cure for that is? Even specialists have problem really, everybody. In the past, we used to have problem of hunger. Its cure was known to even a child, to anybody. Everybody knows what the cure for the hunger is. And people who die because of eating so much food, they always in number more than those who used to die out of hunger. You can see all the statistics very clearly. Now you got rid of that problem, but you don't realize really what will be the consequences of a new thing. Now people don't have hunger, but what they have got? Tell me, is it easy to cure it? When people put on the weight, is it easy? Ask anybody. Is it easy to cure it? No. So you basically replace a problem, but you do not realize what will be the new problem. New problem is much more dangerous, much more difficult to cure. You need to one aspect. There are many aspects of this eating too much, because eating too much makes you lazy. In the past, people used to be active. Because little food could be enough for the people. Their food used to be rough because they don't have so much money. Now you have got all this food, so they make you lazy. They have to make you to sleep so much, all the time tired. Many problems. Second thing is you finish hardship. Easy life. So what happens is easy life. People come, they want to escape from the life. Escapism basically. That's what they call now. The escapism. What escapism is really? Meaning it, nothing to do. Boring life. So TV, internet, and this and that, and WhatsApp, and so many groups, and you member of every single group, and every time it clicks, you think there's nothing important in the life. The other person is boring, and you are boring. Both are bored. They write, you read. You write, they read. That's all. This actually life is. That's what happens. You think this is easy life. That's what they do really. In the past, people used to work hard because they that's what they, and then they are tired, so they want a little bit entertainment. Now you are not tired. Then what are you doing? Then what you create a new problem. And some people who are more clever, they become tired of this life. They want to die before the death. They want to commit suicide because this is nothing doesn't mean anything. Just have work and then at the end of the life, nothing to do really. I'm no use of anything in society. Just come and sit in my house. In the past, people used to be part of society. When they come, they know. Now you know what's happening somewhere else in the world, but you don't know what's happening next to your house. You don't know your neighbors. You don't know your own wife. You don't know what your children are. Each one of you have got a mobile phone, and each one is talking to someone who's 2,000 miles away from you, but you don't know each other. You don't know neighborhood. This actually the problem in our time really is that people replaced older problem by new problem without understanding the consequences. Consequences are very, very bad. Anyway, so this I'm trying to say that when people want to change education system, they don't really know what will be the problem. And when they see the problem, they can't go back. So that inshallah I'll come to criticize more detail when I've done this course. One thing also is in this old system of education, which I explained to you, the two parts. One is to give you more general skills, and second is your upbringing to make you a better human being. In that system, one thing was very important: to make your knowledge to be internalized inside you. What I mean that actually, you have to memorize many things. Now people criticize that why you need to memorize so much things. People can if waste of time. You just need thinking. Thinking really depends on how much you know. You can't think, you can't analyze unless you've got information. So in the past, people used to memorize many of those things which they need daily. You can't go all the time to library. You come to me and ask me what is the hadith of Uthman on wudu, and does it mention must once or 3 times? Then I say, okay, I'm going to check in my library. No, I should know this thing. I'm expected to know this thing. When you ask me this question, I'm expected to know this thing. You come to know and ask me that Iqbal used in his poetry this phrase, what he mean. I'm expected to know it. I can't say I go to look at Iqbal's collection of the poetry and the index to find that word. Then I tell you what he means. No, I'm expected to know this thing by heart. That's how I to basically a lot of memorization, like Arabic grammar. They have to memorize because many things. If you don't memorize, understanding will not help you. You need to memorize. In this curriculum, there was really a big part of the curriculum that you need to know by heart. Then your thinking will be based on that. Because people, how can you analyze something unless you've got data, information? If information not in your mind, when you analyze it will be always incomplete thinking. That's why you can see it produce many great people very early, because they've got enough thing, and now they can build upon that. Those who are clever, in every system there are people who are not clever, not so clever, but those like you can see people like Ibn Sina and all those people from very young age they're able to think so sharply you cannot imagine. Reason is because a lot of the knowledge they know by heart. That's why when people ask Ibn Sina to write his philosophy, he didn't have library. He just used to walk and he dictate. So all the knowledge was in mind. So his knowledge was in mind, and also what he analyzed, what he developed further, it all is in mind. He does not need to have book, because both things are in his mind. Now, if I have to write a book, that information not accurate in my mind, I have to check. So maybe my analysis is in my mind, but what I base it is not there. So I have to refer properly. That was like for example, Sarakhsi, when he wrote a major Hanafi work Al-Mabsut. That time he was put in the prison. He was in the prison, in the well, and he used to dictate from there. The meaning is he memorized all those verses of Hanafi fiqh before, and then he also built upon that his own fiqh. And both of them in his mind. He can dictate easily. The people used to dictate, and many problems of the hadith and the fiqh, you ask the teachers and they'll explain to you without referring to any book. In our time, this is not happening there. So it is true that modern system does not have memorization, but it is not really true that not memorizing is better than they have more advantage. Not necessarily. Actually, I still believe the people who used to memorize, they used to have more advantage. The problem is when in some madrasas, they don't train you how to think, how to analyze how to process information. So that's a problem. Is it clear to everybody? So these are the few things keep in mind that how. And then after memorizing, one thing also was important in madrasa system was discussion. So teaching basically was around discussion. The teacher will take a subject, discuss, people ask question, argue, differ, and all those things. That was all the time discussion and argument in the classroom, outside the classroom. So when you read that literature, you can find. Now when you go to modern madrasas in this country, you don't find this thing happening. So this is the problem of this madrasas. But madrasas in India, they were not like that. So that I'm trying to say that when people see the madrasas around, so they think this is how education was in India. No, education in India was very advanced really. In 18th century, one of European, he has written his own memory of Indian madrasas he visited, and he said really an average Indian, he provides that education to his children, which actually only ministers in England can afford. He went to all the madrasas. He was so amazed, impressed. The madrasas in India are so advanced. The way they teach, the way they discuss, the way they are good. And you can look in the books. You can find, you can read history in the stories. And I mentioned to you, I have been the part of those madrasas. That's how it was. You ask questions, you discuss questions, things, and all the time. So it's one way and then you can say your teacher, no, this is not right because in that book we read this, and you quote. So he has to accept that. So memory, understanding, thinking, discussion, they are part of that education system. So in summary, they used to give you two things. One is to provide to you more general skills. Second thing is to train you as a person, better person. And result was to make you a wise human being. Then you can work in your society properly. So that is the summary of the madrasa education system in the past. Now I'm coming, to the history of Indian madrasa. As I mentioned, I'll mention also some of those important people who used to be before Mughal period. Mughal basically in India, Mughal Empire came in India in 1526 of Christian era. That was 932 of Islamic calendar, and 1526 of Christian era that Mughal Empire came. But before that, it was under Muslim rule. The first time when Muslims actually conquered part of India, the first conquest of Islam happened in India was in the year 93 of Hijrah, and that is 712 of Christian era. So 93 basically means 83 years after the death of the Prophet ﷺ, nearly. That the first time the conquest of some parts of India started. You can see India from the first century of Hijrah, you can say 8th century of Christian era remained, under Muslim rule. Sometimes partly, sometimes more than that. Sometimes the whole India remained under Muslim rule until 1857. 1857 is the time when British took over Delhi, and they basically banished last Mughal emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar from there to Rangoon. So the whole India came under control. Though still there used to be some parts of India under Indian rules, under Muslims or Hindus, but they used to pay tribute to British. You have question?
So what was the year that the Muslims first started to I'm sorry, I just wanted to clarify. What year was it that Muslims first started to conquer parts of India?
Yeah, that was in Hijri calendar 93, just 93, and Christian era 712. 712. That is the first time when Muslims came to India as a conqueror. Before that, they used to be there on the coast of India. Muslims have been even the time of Umar al-Khattab, the Caliph. Actually, Arabs used to be in India even before Islam. On the coast of India, there always used to be Arab colonies. Arab were, the people traders. They used to trade. They used to buy Indian goods, and then they were the only means, for the trade. They were linked really for the trade between Europe and India. So the Arab people have been always traders, Yemen, people of Yemen and all those things. But as a political power and military, the first time the Muslims actually came to India, is 93 of Hijrah, and that is 712 of Christian era. Is it clear to everybody? So that actually is Muhammad ibn Qasim al-Thaqafi. Muhammad ibn Qasim al-Thaqafi. He was 17-year-old young boy. His uncle, Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi, he was governor of Iraq under the Umayyad rule. Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi, he was a governor of, very powerful governor of Iraq. He was so powerful, he is the one basically who established Umayyad empire. So before that it was not so strong, but he is the man, so powerful, he came and really, he did very well. But anyway, I don't want to go in his history. So he was governor of Iraq. Iraq was basically the place where, if any campaign happened to India, it would happen through Iraq. Basra actually used to be called sometime India. So you can see, when sometimes you say that so and so in India, meaning Basra. Basra used to be considered a part of India those sometime in history. In history, sometimes Basra is referred as India, because that is where people used to come to India through Basra. So anyway, when he was, Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi was governor of Iraq, a complaint came to him from Muslims in India that one of the Indian ruler had insulted some Muslim women or something like that. So some problem. Hajjaj became very angry, and then he sent his nephew Muhammad ibn Qasim, actually, who was engaged with his daughter. He wanted to marry his daughter to Muhammad Qasim, but before the marriage, he sent him to conquer India. So Muhammad ibn Qasim Thaqafi is the first person who came to India in 93 of Hijrah. And he came and he conquered Sindh, Multan, part of Punjab, actually what now Pakistan is, most of that was conquered by Muhammad ibn Qasim al-Thaqafi. You can say Pakistan basically is Muslim, under Muslim rule from very beginning. What is now Pakistan, that has been under Muslim rule from the first century of Hijrah, and until now it is there anyway. That's what he did. He was so good in conquering, because he killed basically many of these Indian rulers, and he kept moving. His intention really was to keep conquering until go to China. But in Umayyad dynasty, there was a tension. Tension was that Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi, he became governor during the time of Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, Umayyad Caliph. And he helped Abdul Malik ibn Marwan so much. Abdul Malik ibn Marwan has got 4 sons: Walid ibn Abdul Malik, Sulaiman ibn Abdul Malik, Hisham ibn Abdul Malik, and Yazid ibn Abdul Malik. All 4 became Khalifa. And in between also, Umar ibn Aziz, he also became Khalifa. So 5 people from the, very, very powerful people. Hajjaj was very popular during the time of Abdul Malik Marwan, strong man. Then when Walid became Khalifa, he also respected Hajjaj very much. But Walid's younger brother Sulaiman, he did not like Hajjaj. And Sulaiman was also a good friend of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, because Umar ibn Aziz is a very pious person. He also did not like Hajjaj. So when Walid died and Sulaiman became the Khalifa, then Hajjaj and his people were punished and they finished. Then that one, Muhammad Qasim Thaqafi, was called from India, and he also, people say he was killed, meaning is that history finished. Though Muslims remain in India, but Muhammad Qasim Thaqafi, could not get reward of what he has done. He was killed because of the tension in the dynasty. And then after that, in the Muslims kept have their rule. Then Abbasid came, they had rule. Then for a brief period, Ismailis got power in Sindh and Multan. They had their own rule until Mahmud Ghaznavi comes and he conquers all these places again. And and saves the whole place from Ismailis, from the Ismaili Shia, and then he go deep in India. He conquers the old Punjab, and he has 17 campaigns in India. He's famous for that. So then his dynasty rules over Lahore and all those places. And after him, nearly 1 century after him, then another person comes, Muhammad al-Ghuri. Muhammad al-Ghuri comes, and then he's the first person who can not only conquer that part of Punjab and all that, he even conquered Delhi and up to Bengal. The first time you have got Delhi Sultanate. Then his slaves, they established Delhi Sultanate. Then many dynasties, one after each other, they keep coming until Mongols, they took power, as I mentioned to you, in 1526. So before the Mongols, there have been many dynasties, Ghuri, their slaves, then Sayyas, then Lodhi, and Suri, all these people, they have been ruling one after the Delhi Empire. And there have been many regional Muslim powers. They're very powerful people. So this is just brief political history. Mughals took India in 1526. In Islamic calendar, 932. 932, that is when Babur came and conquered India. Mughal, at least 6 Mughal emperors, they're very powerful. Great Mughals, really. That time, really, nobody can challenge them. The first was Babur, the one who conquered. Second was his son Humayun. Humayun lasted for a period. I don't want to go in deep in history. Second was Humayun. The third one, Akbar. Fourth one, Jahangir. The fifth one, Shah Jahan, who built Taj Mahal and all these big buildings, Shah Jahan. And sixth one, Aurangzeb, the most pious Indian ruler. India never had any ruler more pious than Aurangzeb. He is the one who made the ulama to write, Fatwa Alamgiri, Fatwa Hindiya, to make Indian constitution around Hanafi madhab. So he is the most pious one. He is the one who ruled India more than anybody else. He is the one whose empire was the biggest empire in India, in the space, Aurangzeb. After Aurangzeb, his sons could not keep this united. Then split happened, and they become weaker than so many powers anyway, until 1857, when the last Mughal emperor, Bahadur Shah Zafar, was basically banished, and he was sent to Rangoon. So this is a political history of India. The whole India became under Muslim rule first time during the time of Khaljis. Khaljis are very early Sultanate period. Alauddin Khalji is the one who conquered the whole India, and he used to call himself Alexander, second Al-Iskandar Thani, second Alexander, because he's such a big conqueror. Then after that, again Muslim rule lost a little bit. Then Muhammad Tughlaq comes. Muhammad Tughlaq again conquered the whole India, under him. So these two people, Alauddin Khalji and Muhammad Tughlaq, they rule all India. Then after that, the person who ruled all India is Aurangzeb. Though Mughal Empire was very powerful anyway, even the part which is not under Mughal Empire still was very weak. Basically, they used to pay tribute. But direct rule was under these three people: Alauddin Khalji, Muhammad Tughlaq, and then Aurangzeb rahimahullah ta'ala. These three people, they basically rule India indirectly, properly all over India, from Afghanistan to Bengal, and then from Kashmir to the south, nothing was left really. Everything they ruled. So this is the political history. So certainly, no doubt, when people have such a big empire, they must have people who can help them. So you can see education system really must be very strong to provide ministers, to provide thinkers, to provide philosophers. The way they made the roads. If you look at the buildings, it will tell you how much actually learned people are there. And you read the books. So education system was very good. Even actually pre-Mughal period, during early Sultanate period, when Muslims arrived in Delhi, even that period, people have written the history. They say that in that time, if a book is written in Baghdad, will not be approved unless it is accepted by Indian scholars. That's how they write. The book has to be sent from Baghdad to India, and Indian people read and discuss. They approve it. Then now, basically, it accepted. So many every street of Delhi used to have madrasa. Reason is that is the period when Taimur Lang came and destroyed, before that Mongol came to destroy Baghdad and everything. So Arab land basically was destroyed. And now India is fresh. So many Arab scholars and ulama, and they moved from Arab land to India. So India became, very powerful in scholarship from very early time. So many madrasas in Delhi. If you look really, madrasas everywhere. Madrasa Feroz Shahi, this madrasa, that madrasa, and so I'll inshallah teach you some of the big names of the scholars of India in the period of Sultanate period. Sultanate period means before Mughal Empire. Then I'll come to you about early Mughal Empire, who are the main people and what are the main centers of learning. Then later madrasas, Farangim and all those, and then after that, more modern madrasas like Deoband and things like that, inshallah. But before that, if you have any questions, please ask, because now time for the break. Is there any question? Yeah.
I had a question about the way that students were trained in memorization, and what kind of techniques were used to train students to memorize well. Because in the system that we have in Britain, we're constantly examined, we're constantly told that we need to memorize things, but the memorization tends to be very short term. You cram everything in a few days or a few weeks, and then you forget it the day after the exam. So I'm interested to know how things were memorized in a way that established them into long-term memory.
Yeah, this is actually a very important question, because as I mentioned to you, I have been part of that system, so I know exactly what used to happen. So when we were asked to memorize the text, then every time, actually what will happen is, so the teacher will teach us like, a poem from Boston, for example, and then he'll ask us to memorize it. So next day when you come in the morning, first thing is read from your heart. If you can't do, then some punishment will happen. So everybody has to memorize well. So first thing is every day. Then after that, they used to have Thursday. So madrasa time used to start on Saturday. Friday used to be holy. Friday off, only one day. So the full teaching used to happen 5 days. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, full teaching. Thursday used to be when they used to have test. Whatever you have learned really, test different, something competition and this and that, so all the things become fresh. Then they used to have a more formal test every 3 months. So then other teachers, the teacher who teaches not he, somebody else will test you, whatever you need to memorize, have you memorized it properly or not, somebody else, and then you get mark and this and that, so that's how it happen. And also the thing is, most of those things, you need them. So they are used as well to keep, continuously they're used. For example, if you memorize the Quran, you have to read in Tarawih. It's a simple matter, this use. But when you learn Arabic grammar and all this poetry, they are very much used. Teacher will ask you, that what Shaykh Sadi said in this, in this chapter. So you have to know. Everybody was familiar. No, I remember, there are many texts we learnt by heart. That, and then later on, because you part your habit, and then you keep referring to it, quoting, and also it was easier really. You don't have much concern in the life, nothing else. And now people have so much concern. If you have, you've got in your house, you've got TV, internet, mobile phones, then forget that your children will memorize anything, because they don't find any sense. Everything there. You ask them, they can check it. They don't feel any need to memorize. For us really, it was important. If you don't memorize, how can you know? The only way to learn is to memorize. There's no other way. The memory was very, very important those days. And also, even actually the textbooks, they were not available so much in madrasas. So you have to copy them. Basically, every day, one thing also we used to do, some of the books, we did not have enough copies, so we used to borrow from the library and go home and copy them, the bit that we read. So that's important. And then, you copy them, you read them, and all these actually help for the same system. So that's how the knowledge become, more deeper. And I really realized that when I came to Nazatul Ulama, so the madrasa that I studied in the beginning, all these things, they were more traditional madrasa, what now people call Dars Nizami. So when I came to Nazatul Ulama, so I was good. Reason is because Nazatul Ulama is the one which has so much reform, and one of the reform in Nadwa was don't memorize. Memorization actually not very, people don't need to memorize, they just need to understand. So I know really that in Arabic grammar, I was the best. And teachers said to me that anybody who studies in Nadwa from the beginning, they never can learn Arabic grammar properly. Those who came from outside, they are the one who know Arabic grammar. Because we knew it by heart, we learned by heart. Other people just, pass the text, maybe they understand, then they forget. Something you understand, you keep in mind, but many things you need. For example, if you ask people in Nazatul Ulama, how many are huruf jar? Nobody will know. But I know, reason is because I know poetry, I know by heart. If you know in a poetry, you know by heart. They don't know because they have learned in the book, but they don't memorize. This is actually what happens in the modern education system. Many things you need to know. So for example, if you refer actually what Shaykh Deoband said in this book, many people even don't know, and we have to memorize some of those things. It is easy for us to recall that information. So that was very important, and it is not really. It is something supernatural thing skill. Everybody does it. That problem is, you don't understand how much, what human mind actually is. The capacity of human mind is amazing. It is really miracle really for other people. We don't use our mind. If you use it properly, it really can do amazing things. So when you study, hear that somebody knew 200,000 hadiths by heart, it looks very strange. But no, the mind can do more than that. That's how mind used to be. People, I remember one of the teacher, he was a farmer, alim. You ask him about any man in the hadith, narrator, he will know biography by heart. He was not a teacher. He knew all these things by heart. Many teachers, if you ask any poetry by, they will tell by heart. So many of this knowledge was actually there. So I will certainly emphasize really something should be, like for example, all the Arabic grammar, like in all the sarf, like fa'ala, fa'ala, fa'alu, fa'alat. First thing that you learn Arabic grammar, so it was actually, it was important. You can't learn anything unless you know fa'ala. Fa'ala actually is 14 words. In these 14 words, you have to memorize so much that one single breath you can read 3 times. If you read the rest less than 3 times, you have to again, and punishment will be there. Some punishment will be there. So 3 times in a breath. Actually, I used to do 5 times. But anyway, so now I cannot do. So now if you have done something, memorize so well, can you forget? Now I can't forget fa'ala. Then people used to have, I just give example, that you can understand because I'm from that old system. So like for example, when you used to learn in all the, abwab, bab of the, there used to be sarf kabir and sarf saghir. Sarf kabir is when you learn madi ma'loom, madi majhool, mudare ma'loom, mudare majhool, amr and this and that, all in detail. That is which you memorize. Then you used to have something sarf saghir, meaning is one word for each one. So for example, they will say nasr yansur nasran fahuwa nasrun ونصر ينصر نصر فهو منصور الأمر منه أنصر والنهي عنه لا تنصر والظرف منه منصر والآلة منه منصر والتثنية منه منصران ومنصران والجمع منه مناصر ومناصير وأفعال التفضيل منه أنصر والمؤنث منه نصرة والمثنى منهما أنصران ونصريان والجمع منهما أنصرون وأناصر ونصر ونصريات. Now you know from each one word. Once you know one word, you can know other. This you have to memorize for every single chapter, for Fataha, for Samia, for all those chapters. Even for the Mu'allal, Da'adu, Rama, Yarmi, Qala, Yaqulu. How can you forget? Then you know really. And I know really many Arabs, they do mistakes. Reason is because they have not learned this thing. So Indian system was so strong, but problem really is, this all effort of reform, they lost really what was valuable. In the process of reform, they lost many of those things. Anyway, you had a question.
I just wanted to clarify, there were 3 centers of learning or 3 madrasas you had mentioned which were important during the Mughal era. So there was Firangi Mahal, Khairabad, and there was one more?
Yeah, I'll come to that. The Firangi Mahal was more general one, which basically was to produce officials for Mughal Empire, ministers and this and that. So that was for any, state. So that was Firangi Mahal. That curriculum was made really to provide officials. Second was Khairabad. Khairabad was more specialized about philosophy, logic, and rational sciences. If you want to become expert of Ibn Sina and Farabi, you have to come to Khairabad. The third one was Madrasa Rahimiyya of Delhi, Madrasa Waliullah Dehlvi. If you want to become more study of Hadith and Islamic sciences, you come to that madrasa. So these 3 madrasas were important before the modern era. When modern era came, they finished. Then we got Deoband, Nadwi, all those. Yeah.
Sheikh, how much was the involvement of the family in the learning process of students? Because I think now in the modern learning system, at least there's an implicit understanding that the parents are the ones who look after the learning of the child to become a good citizen, whereas the school, doesn't put so much emphasis on that. But was that something that was present in the kind of more ancient way of learning?
This is actually a very important question, really. Family was very important, really. Always have been. Actually, even now, family is very, very important. in family it could be possible, not everybody very learned. So they can't help you to teach you. But actually what happens is, the ethos, basically the main environment of the family used to be in such a way, it helps you to make you wiser. So what madrasa wants to teach you, basic things already you have got from the house. The wisdom, respect the people, how to be nice, how to control yourself, how to control your hunger, how to control your anger, how to respect your parent, how to respect your teacher. These basic things your parent will teach you, everybody in the family. You never can have any bad manner in the school. You know really that when you come to the classroom, how to respect your teacher, how to be nice to them, how to be with everybody else. So these main tarbiyah or upbringing of the household, they're very, very important. And that actually what people need really. Very often people say that we want to send our children to this madrasa, to this school. Basic thing is that if the house is not very good, children will be lost. The house should be strong really in that tarbiyah, that upbringing. So the mother and the father and everybody in the house, they should help for the same thing. So children learn from very beginning that lying is so bad, ugly. Nobody loves you if you lie. Lying, backbiting, stealing, deceiving, cheating. These things are not good. So these things you learn from good families. So they're very important, but not necessarily everybody. I remember when I started in madrasa Farsi language, I was 9 or 10 years old when I started. It was a village, little far away from my village. That is the madrasa where Shaykh Yunus also studied, the Shaykh Hadith, the same madrasa where I went. So when I used to walk from madrasa and come back, it was nearly 2 miles. And then after coming from the madrasa, after Maghrib, so I would have a lamp, outside my house, sit, on something, and then I used to read my first Persian book of Sheikh Sadi. Then all the elders people of the village, they will come around me, and they will sit there and they say, okay, read and translate for us, so we also know what you have learned, this wisdom. So I'll be very happy that all the people around me, they appreciate all wisdom, hikmah, so much knowledge. This you can see that the people in the village, they appreciate your learning. They understand actually what the knowledge is. And certainly those books already, I actually want to teach people, Gulistan of Sadi, at least the last chapter. Last chapter of Sheikh Sadi's Gulistan is full of the wisdom. So you can see that when we were a young boy, we not only learned that chapter, we memorized that in all the chapters properly. Maybe did not understand properly, but memorize it. That's what helps a lot to the people. Yeah. So house is very important always. Family is very, very important. That one Islam, having family is ibadah. That we don't like, the relation to be broken. We don't want so much divorce in the family because it really will affect the new generation. So we want the family should be as strong as possible.